Hey guys, tonight we're scaling the Great Wall of China, a stone serpent snaking through misty mountains, its bricks whispering secrets of emperors and invaders. Picture yourself perched on a crumbling watchtower, the wind stinging your face, stars blinking above like they're eavesdropping. This isn't just a wall. It's a 21,000-kilometer puzzle, and you're about to piece together its real purpose. Spoiler, you probably won't survive a night out here without some serious snacks. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in a dusty valley, 221 BCE, where the air smells of sweat and freshly chipped stone. China's not yet China. It's a mess of warring states, each with its own petty king, squabbling like kids over the last dumpling. But one guy, Ying Zheng, is about to change that. He's not emperor yet, just a ruthless warlord with a knack for winning. His state, Qin, is hammering its neighbors, and you're watching his soldiers drag logs to build walls. Yup, little ones. These early barriers aren't the Great Wall you know from postcards. They're scrappy, knee-high in places, meant to mark turf and slow down rival cavalry. Think less impenetrable fortress, more aggressive property line. Here's the mainstream fact. These proto-walls, built by northern states like Qin, Zhao, and Yan, predate the unified Great Wall by centuries. They're the first stitches in a much bigger tapestry. But a quirky tidbit? Some of these early walls weren't even for defense. Archaeologists found sections aligned with feng shui principles, angled to channel good vibes or block evil spirits. Imagine a general consulting a mystic before stacking stones. Priorities, right? You squint at the workers, their hands blistered, hauling dirt in woven baskets. They're not soldiers, they're farmers, conscripted from villages, muttering about missing planting season. The sun's brutal, and there's no OSHA out here. A foreman barks orders, and you wince as a guy drops a rock on his foot. Ying Zheng's big idea is taking shape, but it's messy. His walls are less about stopping arrows and more about flexing control, proving he can reshape the land itself. Historians still argue whether these early walls were practical or just propaganda stunts. Did they really deter invaders, or were they Ying Zheng's way of shouting, "I'm in charge"? As you wander the construction site, you notice something odd. The walls don't connect. They're patchy, like a half-finished quilt. Some sections are mud-packed earth, others stacked stone. depending on what's lying around. It's chaos, but there's ambition here. Ying Zheng's not just building barriers. He's dreaming of something bigger, a single, unified China. You can almost hear his advisors whispering about one kingdom, one wall. But that's a long way off. For now, you're dodging ox carts and wondering if the workers ever get a lunch break. Spoiler, they don't. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of pine and distant campfires. You're starting to get why this wall thing is such a big deal. It's not just stones, it's a statement. Ying Qing's about to become Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, and this is his opening act. You kick a pebble and grin, imagining some future tourist snapping selfies where you're standing. Bet they won't know about the feng shui thing. Ready to keep climbing, you're trudging along a half-built stretch of the Great Wall. The ground uneven, your sandals caked with mud. The year's still 221 BCE, and Qin Shi Huang's just unified China. But unified feels like a stretch, more like he bullied everyone into submission. The wall's starting to take shape, but it's not the postcard version yet. You're here to uncover its real purpose. And spoiler, it's not just about keeping invaders out. The wind's got a bite, and you're wishing for a hoodie as you duck behind a pile of stones to eavesdrop on some workers. Here's the mainstream fact. The Great Wall, even in its early days, was as much about controlling trade as defense. Qin Shi Huang's empire needed cash, and the Silk Road, already a bustling network, was a gold mine. The wall's strategic gates doubled as toll booths, taxing merchants hauling silk, spices, and jade. You watch a caravan approach, camels snorting, their packs swaying, a guard's checking goods, scribbling on a bamboo slip. Every bolt of fabric means more coins for the emperor's war chest. Clever, right? But here's a quirky tidbit. Some wall sections were built to herd animals. Yup, parts of it funneled nomadic herders, sheep, and horses into narrow passes, making them easier to tax or raid. Picture a grumpy herder realizing his shortcuts now a Qin checkpoint. Bet he wasn't thrilled. You stifle a laugh, imagining the world's most over-engineered cattle gate. Historians still argue whether the wall's trade role outweighed its military one. Was Qin Shi Huang more merchant than general? You're not sure, but you're eyeing those caravan guards, armed to the teeth, scanning for bandits. The wall's not just a barrier, it's a choke point, a way to squeeze every ounce of profit from China's borders. You wander closer, catching the scent of spices and leather. A merchant's haggling, offering a bribe to skip the toll. The guard's not biting, but you can tell he's tempted. As you move on, you notice the wall's not just about money, it's about control. Qin's empire is massive, and he's paranoid about losing it. The wall lets him monitor who's coming and going, whether they're traders, spies, or rebels. You spot a messenger sprinting through a gate, clutching a sealed scroll. News travels fast, but only if Qin says so. His officials use the wall's watchtowers to signal commands, lighting fires or waving flags. It's like an ancient internet, keeping the emperor's eyes everywhere. You're starting to get it. This wall's a multi-tool. Defense, sure, but also a customs office, a spy network, even a livestock corral. You kick a stone and grin, bet nobody saw that coming. The workers around you are still hauling dirt, their faces grim. They don't care about trade routes or imperial schemes. They just want to go home. You feel a pang of sympathy, but there's no time to linger. The wall's stretching farther, and you're curious what's next. The sun's dipping low, painting the hills gold. You're dodging ox carts now, their wheels creaking under stacks of timber. A foreman's yelling, and you wince as a worker trips, spilling a basket of earth. This wall's a beast, eating up lives and resources, but Qin Shi Huang's betting it's worth it. You're not so sure. Is it genius or madness? You're leaning toward madness, but you're hooked. Time to keep moving. See what this emperor's really up to. You're walking beside a dusty trail, the Great Wall's jagged outline rising against the horizon. It's still 221 BCE, and Qin Shi Huang's fresh off his victory lap, uniting China under one iron fist. His walls growing, snaking through hills like a dragon's spine, and you're here to decode his grand vision. The air's thick with the tang of sweat and pine, and you're dodging workers hauling stones, their grunts echoing. This isn't just a construction site. It's the emperor's obsession, and you're about to see why. Mainstream fact: Qin Shi Huang didn't just build the wall. He linked older, scattered barriers into a single system, standardizing everything from bricks to battlements. His goal? One China, indivisible, with a wall to match. You watch masons align stones with eerie precision, using templates carved from wood. It's like the emperor's stamping his logo on the landscape, screaming, "This is mine." His unification wasn't just political, it was architectural. Quirky tidbit: Qin's advisors believed the wall could anchor the empire's qi, its cosmic energy, tying the land to his rule. You smirk, imagining a mystic waving incense over a blueprint, convincing the emperor it's destiny. Workers don't buy it. They're too busy cursing the heat. You're tempted to ask one for his take, but the whip-cracking foreman nearby suggests you keep quiet. Historians still argue whether Qin's wall was more about ego than strategy. Was it a practical defense or a monument to his God-King vibes? You're leaning toward ego as you watch a messenger sprint past, carrying orders sealed with the emperor's jade stamp. Chin's not just building a barrier, he's building a legacy, one that'll outlast his enemies, and maybe even him. You're weaving through the chaos now, sidestepping ox carts and piles of clay. The wall's not just stones, it's a symbol of Qin's dream. Total control. He standardized weights, measures, even the width of cart axles, all to glue his empire together. The wall's his biggest flex, a line in the sand saying, "My China, my rules." You notice watchtowers sprouting every few miles, their signal fires ready to flash warnings. It's less about stopping invaders and more about reminding everyone who's boss. As you climb a hill, you catch a glimpse of the wall, stretching into the mist. It's breathtaking, even half finished. You're starting to get Qin's vision. One empire, one wall, one emperor. But there's a cost. You glance at a worker, his face gaunt, collapsing under a basket of dirt. Nobody's cheering for unity out here. You mutter a joke to yourself. Bet Qin's tomb has better Wi-Fi than this worksite. It falls flat, but it keeps you moving. The sun's climbing, and you're sweating through your imaginary tunic. You're starting to see the wall as Qin did, a tool to reshape a fractured land. But it's also a gamble. Will it hold China together or break under its own weight? You're not sure, but you're hooked. You kick a pebble and grin, picturing Qin's smug face if he knew his wall's a tourist trap now. Time to keep walking. See what's next in this emperor's fever dream. You're stumbling along a rugged stretch of the Great Wall, the stones uneven underfoot, the air heavy with dust. It's still Qin Shi Huang's reign, around 220 BCE, and the wall's taking shape. But it's a brutal grind. You're surrounded by workers, their faces etched with exhaustion, hauling rocks like their lives depend on it, because they do. You're here to witness the blood and sweat behind this massive project, and trust me, it's not a pretty sight. The sun's relentless, and you're wishing for a water break these guys will never get. Mainstream fact: the Great Wall's construction relied on millions of laborers, farmers, prisoners, even disgraced nobles, forced into service under Qin's harsh regime. Estimates suggest over 400 Hingsen died, their bodies sometimes mixed into the wall's foundations. You watch a man stagger under a stone's weight, his back bent like a bow. No unions here, just whips and quotas. The emperor's dream is a nightmare for these workers, and you're feeling the weight of it. Quirky tidbit: some laborers carved secret messages into stones, curses against foremen or prayers for home. You squint at a rock, half expecting to spot one, but it's just scars from chisels. Still, imagine a worker sneaking in a Qin Stinks graffiti, hoping it'd outlast him. You chuckle softly, but the sound dies fast. Nobody's laughing out here. Historians still argue whether the wall's human cost was justified. Did it secure China, or was it a tyrant's vanity project that broke more than it built? You're leaning toward the latter as you step over a cracked tool, its handle worn smooth by desperate hands. The workers aren't just building a wall, they're building Qin's legacy, one back-breaking load at a time. You're weaving through the chaos now, dodging carts and sidestepping a pile of shattered clay. The workers are a mix: gaunt farmers, chained convicts, even a few scholars who mouthed off and got sent here as punishment. You catch a snippet of their chatter: complaints about moldy rations, a whisper about escape. Escape's a fantasy, though. Guards patrol with spears, and the desert's a death sentence. You feel a pang, wishing you could slip them a protein bar or something. The wall's growing, but it's messy. Some sections are sturdy stone. Others are rammed earth, crumbling already. You notice a foreman yelling at a guy for sloppy work, and you wince as a lash cracks. It's not just physical toil, it's fear. Qin's officials keep tallies, and falling short means punishment, maybe death. You're starting to get why some called this the longest cemetery. Joke's on you for thinking this'd be a light history stroll, huh? As you move on, the scale hits you. Miles of wall, built by hand, by people who'll never see their families again. You spot a kid, no older than 15, hauling dirt, his eyes hollow. You want to tell him it's worth it, that the wall's a wonder, but you can't lie. Instead, you keep walking, the crunch of gravel underfoot like a heartbeat. The worker's struggle is the wall's real foundation, and you're not sure Qin's vision justifies it. Time to keep moving, see what's next in this brutal saga. You're perched on a rocky outcrop, the Great Wall sprawling below like a stone river, cutting through the hills. It's now around 210 BCE, and Qin Shi Huang's empire is humming, but trouble's brewing beyond the wall. The wind carries a faint hoofbeat rumble. Nomads, the Xiongnu, are out there, and you're about to feel the tension as they test the wall's strength. The air smells of smoke and leather, and you're gripping an imaginary spear, wondering if this barrier's as tough as it looks. Mainstream fact: the Xiongnu, fierce nomadic horsemen, were the wall's primary threat during Qin's reign, raiding border settlements with lightning-fast strikes. You spot a watchtower signal fire flaring, warning of riders on the horizon. The wall's not just a fence, it's a front line, built to slow these archers on horseback, giving Qin's troops time to mobilize. You can almost hear the garrison scrambling, their armor clanking. Quirky tidbit: some Xiongnu taunted the wall's guards by leaving cheeky gifts, like horse skulls, at weak points, mocking Qin's defenses. You grin, picturing a soldier finding one and cursing under his breath. Bet he didn't report that to the emperor. You're tempted to check for one yourself, but a guard's glare keeps you moving. Historians still argue whether the wall deterred the Xiongnu or just annoyed them. Did it stop invasions, or did it push nomads to find sneakier routes? You're not sure, but you're watching dust clouds swirl in the distance, a sign the Xiongnu are probing again. The wall's high, but their horses are fast, and you're feeling the stakes. You're creeping along a battlement now, dodging soldiers, lugging crossbows. The wall's design is clever. Narrow paths force riders into kill zones, and towers let archers rain bolts from above. But it's not foolproof. You overhear a captain muttering about gaps where the wall's still just packed dirt, easy to breach. The Xiongnu know it too. They're not dumb. You're starting to see the wall as a gamble, not a guarantee. The tension's thick as you peer over the edge. You imagine a Xiongnu scout out there, sizing up the wall, like a wolf eyeing a sheep pen. Qin's soldiers are tough, but they're spread thin, and the nomads are relentless. You recall those workers from earlier, their sweat and blood in every stone. All for this? To hold back a storm of arrows and hooves? You joke to yourself, bet the Xiongnu don't care about Qin's feng shui. It's a weak laugh, but it keeps you steady. As you move, you notice the wall's not just about fighting, it's about fear. Qin wants the Xiongnu to think twice, to see this endless barrier and turn back. But you're not sure it's working. A horn blares, and you flinch. Another raid's coming. You're itching to see how this plays out, but you're also glad you're just a time-traveling tourist. The wall's holding for now, but the Xiongnu aren't done. Time to keep climbing. See what's next in this high-stakes showdown. You're crouched behind a weathered watchtower, the great wall stretching like a stone spine under a hazy sky. It's still around 210 BCE, and the Xiongnu threat lingers, but you're here to ponder something deeper. The wall's role as a psychological barrier. The air's sharp with the scent of pine and distant campfires, and you're watching soldiers scan the horizon, their eyes more nervous than defiant. This wall's not just about stopping arrows, it's about messing with minds, and you're about to see how. Mainstream fact: the Great Wall was a symbol of imperial might, designed to intimidate both enemies and subjects, projecting Qin Shi Huang's power across vast distances. You notice the wall's sheer scale. Miles of stone, towers every few hundred yards, all screaming, "Don't mess with us." It's less a defense and more a statement, meant to make nomads and rebels think twice before crossing the emperor's line. Quirky tidbit: some watchtowers were built taller than needed, purely to look scarier from afar. like ancient billboards of doom. You smirk, imagining a Xiongnu rider squinting at one and muttering, "Okay, that's overkill." You're tempted to climb one for the view, but a guard's pacing nearby, and you'd rather not test his mood. Historians still argue whether the wall's psychological impact outweighed its practical use. Did it really scare off invaders, or was it just Qin flexing for his own ego? You're leaning toward ego as you watch a patrol march past, their steps loud to drown out their jitters. The wall's a mind game, but you're not sure who's winning. You're slipping along a quiet stretch now. The stones cool under your palms. The wall's presence is heavy, like it's watching you back. For the Xiongnu, it's a taunt, an endless obstacle daring them to try. For Qin's own people, it's a reminder. The emperor's reach is everywhere. You recall those laborers, their lives poured into this symbol. Was it worth it to make nomads nervous? You're not convinced. The psychological angle hits harder as you spot a village below, its farmers glancing at the wall with a mix of pride and fear. It protects them, sure, but it also traps them under Qin's thumb. You joke to yourself, bet they wish the wall came with a freedom button. It's a weak gag, but it keeps you moving. The wall's not just stone. It's a message, carved into the land, to shape how people think. As you wander, you notice signal flags flapping, relaying orders across miles. It's not just about scaring enemies. It's about control, keeping everyone in line, from nomads to nobles. You're starting to get it. The wall's a giant stay in your lane sign for an entire empire. But cracks are showing. You overhear a soldier whisper about desertions, men spooked by endless shifts on this lonely barrier. The wall's intimidating, but it's also isolating. Time to keep moving. See what's next in this game of stone and psyche. You're sneaking through a narrow gate in the Great Wall, the air thick with the scent of dust and exotic spices. It's still around 210 BCE, and while the Xiongnu lurk beyond, you're diving into the wall's role in trade and treachery along the Silk Road. The gate's a bustling checkpoint, merchants haggling, camels snorting, and you're dodging piles of cargo to spy on the deals and the deceit unfolding here. This isn't just a fortress, it's a trade hub with a dark side, and you're about to get the scoop. Mainstream fact: the Great Wall's gates were key Silk Road checkpoints, where Qin officials taxed goods and monitored travelers, funneling wealth into the empire. You watch a merchant unload silk bolts, his face tense as a guard tallies his wares. Every coin dropped here funds Qin's armies, and you're seeing how the wall's a cash machine as much as a shield. Quirky tidbit: some merchants bribed guards with ghost goods, fake cargo listed on manifests to dodge taxes. You grin, picturing a sly trader slipping a guard a jade trinket to forget a crate. You're tempted to eavesdrop on a deal, but the glint of a spear keeps you moving. Historians still argue whether the wall's trade controls sparked more smuggling than they stopped. Did it stabilize the Silk Road or just breed corruption? You're leaning toward corruption as you spot a guard pocket something shiny from a nervous trader. The wall's gates are bottlenecks, squeezing profit and secrets alike. You're weaving through the chaos now, past stacks of pottery and furs. The Silk Road's a lifeline, linking China to distant lands, but it's also a risk. Spies and rebels slip through with the caravans. You overhear a merchant muttering about foreign ideas sneaking in, and you wonder if Qin's paranoid about more than just nomads. The wall's here to filter everything: goods, people, even rumors. The treachery's subtle, but everywhere. You notice a trader slip a scroll to another, their eyes darting. Is it a trade deal or a coded message? The guards miss it, too busy shaking down a guy with a cart of melons. You joke to yourself, bet those melons are hiding gold, not seeds. It's a weak laugh, but it keeps you sharp. The wall's not just taxing goods, it's taxing trust. As you move, you see the bigger picture. These gates are where worlds collide. East meets west, but Qin's got his thumb on the scale, using the wall to control the flow. You recall those laborers, their sweat in every stone, all to build this giant customs office. Was it worth it for a few extra coins? You're not sure, but the intrigues got you hooked. Time to slip through the gate, see what's next in this web of trade and trickery. You're perched on a crumbling ledge of the Great Wall, the wind whistling through gaps in the stone. It's still around 210 BCE, and you're marveling at the wall's clever design. Beacons, traps, and all the engineering tricks that make it more than just a pile of rocks. Below, soldiers drill in a courtyard, their shouts mingling with the clank of tools. The wall's a machine, built to outsmart invaders, and you're about to uncover its genius. Your imaginary cloaks flapping, and you're wishing for a hard hat as pebbles skitter past. Mainstream fact: the Great Wall's design included sophisticated features like watchtowers with signal systems, using smoke by day and fire by night to relay warnings across hundreds of miles. You watch a soldier stack wood for a beacon, his movements practiced. If the Xiongnu hit, these signals could summon reinforcements faster than a nomad's horse. Well, almost. Quirky tidbit: some wall sections had hidden murder holes for dropping rocks or boiling oil on attackers. You grin, picturing a guard giggling as he preps a trap, like a kid rigging a prank. You're tempted to peek into one, but a creaky ladder nearby suggests you stay put. Historians still argue whether the wall's engineering was overkill or barely enough. Did its tricks stop invasions, or were they more show than substance? You're leaning toward show as you eye a tower's flimsy scaffold. Impressive, but not invincible. Still, the wall's got brains, and you're hooked on its secrets. You're scrambling along a battlement now, dodging workers patching a crack. The wall's not just high, it's strategic. Ramps let troops rush to weak points, while choke points funnel enemies into kill zones. You spot a trap door, probably for ambushes, and whistle softly. This thing's a fortress and a maze, designed to confuse and crush. You recall those laborers, their sweat in every clever brick. All this to outwit a few horsemen. The beacons are the real star. You imagine a chain of fires lighting up the night, passing word of danger from hill to hill. It's ancient tech, but it works when the wind doesn't snuff it out. You joke to yourself, bet they wished for walkie-talkies. It's a weak gag, but it keeps you moving. The walls also got drainage channels to fend off rain and spiked barriers to snag cavalry. Every detail's thought out, like a giant board game where Qin's always one move ahead. As you climb higher, you notice the cost. Shoddy sections, rushed by exhausted workers, crumble underfoot. The engineering's brilliant, but human error's real. You overhear a foreman curse a misaligned stone, and you wince, imagining the poor guy who'll take the blame. The wall's a marvel, but it's fragile too. You're starting to see it as a puzzle. Genius design, shaky execution. Time to keep exploring. See what's next in this stone labyrinth. You're trudging along a weathered stretch of the Great Wall, the stone scarred by time and wind. It's no longer Qin's era. Fast forward to the Han, Tang, and Ming dynasties, spanning centuries from 206 BCE to the 1600s. The walls evolved, patched, and rebuilt, a living monument shaped by each ruler's fears and ambitions. You're here to track its endless repairs, the dynasty's obsession with keeping this beast standing. The air's crisp, smelling of moss and distant charcoal, and you're dodging mossy patches, wishing for better boots. Mainstream fact: the wall was continuously maintained and expanded across dynasties, with the Ming Dynasty, 1368-1644, building the most iconic stone and brick sections we see today. You watch Ming workers hoist polished bricks, their mortar mixed with sticky rice for extra strength. This isn't Qin's rammed earth barrier anymore. It's a fortress built to last, though the cracks you're stepping over suggest forever is optimistic. Quirky tidbit: Tang Dynasty repairs included lucky charms, jade tokens buried in foundations to ward off bad vibes. You smirk, imagining a foreman sneaking one in, hoping it'll keep the Mongols away. You're tempted to dig for one, but a nearby soldier's glare keeps you moving. Historians still argue whether the wall's constant upkeep was worth the cost. Did it secure borders, or was it a sinkhole for resources and lives? You're leaning toward sinkhole as you spot a worker, his hands raw, patching a crumbling tower. The wall's a hungry giant, demanding endless labor, and you're feeling its weight. You're weaving through a Ming-era worksite now, past scaffolds and piles of lime. Each dynasty left its mark. Han added watchtowers, Tang reinforced trade gates, Ming went all in with cannons and crenellations. You recall Qin's laborers, their sweat in the wall's roots. Now, centuries later, new workers toil, their grumbles echoing the past. The wall's a relay race, passed from ruler to ruler, each adding their flair but never finishing the job. The Ming's version is the flashiest, with bricks so tight a knife won't fit between them. You run your hand over one, smooth, cold, a far cry from Qin's muddy mounds. But repairs are relentless. Storms erode slopes, raiders chip away, and time's the worst enemy. You overhear a captain gripe about budget cuts. Sound familiar? You joke to yourself, bet they wished for a wall repair app. It's a weak laugh, but it keeps you going. As you move, you see the bigger picture. The wall's a survivor, remade by each era's needs. Han faced Xiongnu, Tang dealt with Turks, Ming battled Mongols. Each fix was a bet on stability, but the cost was brutal. Lives, coin, hope. You spot a faded Han-era stone, half buried under Ming bricks, and feel a pang. The wall's a patchwork of dreams, holding China together, or maybe just holding it back. Time to keep walking. See how this saga ends. You're standing atop a quiet stretch of the Great Wall, its stones worn smooth by centuries of wind and footsteps. It's the present day now, 2025, and the wall's a silent giant, half ruined, half revered, stretching into the misty hills. You're here to unravel its myths versus its reality, questioning the true legacy of this ancient marvel. The air's cool, scented with wild flowers, and you're alone except for the distant hum of a tourist bus. This is the end of the journey, and it's time to sort fact from legend. Mainstream fact: the Great Wall never fully stopped invasions. Mongols, Manchus, and others breached it repeatedly, yet it remains a symbol of Chinese resilience. You trace a crack in the stone, picturing Genghis Khan's riders slipping through a weak gate. The wall's strength was more in its story than its structure, a testament to China's will to endure. Quirky tidbit: a persistent myth claims the wall's visible from space. Spoiler, it's not, unless your eyes are better than NASA's. You grin, imagining an astronaut squinting down, disappointed. Bet they'd rather spot a good dim sum joint. You're tempted to snap a selfie, but the wall's quiet grandeur keeps you still. Historians still argue whether the wall's legacy is triumph or tragedy. Was it a unifying masterpiece or a monument to wasted lives? You're leaning toward tragedy as you recall the laborers, their bones likely under your feet. The wall's a wonder, but its cost, millions of lives, endless coin, haunts every brick. You're wandering a crumbling section now, weeds sprouting between stones. The myths are loud. A wall that held back barbarians, a shield for a glorious empire. But reality's messier. It was breached, bypassed, even ignored. You think back to Qin's trade gates, the Xiongnu's taunts, the Ming's desperate repairs. The wall was less a barrier and more a mirror, reflecting China's fears, dreams, and obsessions. You joke to yourself, bet it's the world's most expensive therapy session. It's a weak gag, but it fits. The truth settles as you sit, the stone cold against your palms. The wall's real purpose wasn't just defense or trade. It was control over land, people, even history. It shaped China's identity, for better or worse. You look out, the hills rolling endless, and feel small. The wall's still here, but its story's yours to carry now. You lean back, the wall's cool stone cradling you as the sky softens to dusk. The world feels quieter now, the hills blurring into shadows, their curves like a lullaby carved in earth. You've walked centuries tonight, from Qin's brutal ambition to the Ming's polished bricks, and you're weary but wiser. The wall's secrets, its toil, its tricks, its half-truths settle in your chest, heavy but gentle, like a story you'll dream about later. Let the wind hum its last notes, carrying away the dust of empires. You're safe here, wrapped in history's whisper, the stars above winking as if they know you made it through. Close your eyes, let the wall stand guard, and drift into a soft, endless night.